My guest today is filmmaker Ida Melum, and following her BAFTA-nominated and Annie Award-winning short, Night of the Living Dread, she returns with Ovary-Acting. Now, the film has been BAFTA longlisted and Annie nominated as well, marking a significant milestone in its award season journey. Now, after its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival in 2025, Ovary-Acting went on to win the Best Short Animation Grand Prize at the Rhode Island International Film Festival, cementing its status as one of the most distinctive animated shorts of the year. Now, Ovary-Acting offers a joyful yet incisive look at one of life's most pressing questions and stands as a vibrant celebration of the continued evolution of stop motion animation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome filmmaker Ida Melum and her BAFTA longlisted animated short film, Ovary-Acting, to the show. Welcome, Ida.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Now, I absolutely loved this short film of yours, Ovary-Acting, and I understand that this is a personal story. So, why did you want to explore the different sides of a woman's biological clock?
Yeah, thank you. I'm super happy you liked it. It was this was one of those stories that I was just itching to make it. It's definitely based on personal experience, and I think I could just see it happening to so many women in my life. As soon as we were hitting our late 20s, you know, for me at least, I felt like I was just fighting off questions left, right, and center regarding, when would I have kids of my own? And I was still also contemplating, did I want to have kids because I wanted to have kids, or did I want to have them because I felt that it was expected of me to have them? And so I think it was external pressure, there was internal pressure, there was biology, there was age, all of that stuff just made me think, there's a story here, and I definitely wanted to poke fun at both sides for sure. So yeah, and there was this incredible team of women who came to make this film with me, and we all came from different walks of life. So I think we all brought so much of ourselves into that story, hoping that it would land, with a wide audience.
Well, explain to me the mindset of a woman when her biological clock is ticking. Who has the louder voice? Oneself, others, or her body, or maybe all three?
Gosh, I think it's everything, and it's just there's so much stress. It's also like, you know, people saying or science saying like this is the day that it starts to decline, and then other articles are saying complete opposite, and then, freezing your eggs has become this normal new thing. It's just a bit crazy, I think. But what I think doesn't help is if a person hasn't decided. I think all of that noise can be really difficult to navigate. That's what I found, was that when I was trying to figure out what I wanted, it was really difficult because I felt that there was all these voices, and I was like, so which one is my voice? Where do I want to go? Right? So I think it can be hard to navigate all the opinions, basically.
I think too, it has a lot to do with demographics because, like here in America, there are parts of the country to where you graduate from high school when you're 18. If you go to college, you'll graduate by the time you're 22. And then it's almost expected in a way of finding a mate and get married and have a kid. It's like this plan that's automatically laid out that maybe society has created back from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. But then there's other demographics to where maybe someone
Mm-hmm.
grows up in a very dense metropolitan city and that thought doesn't actually happen. Then there's somebody that's going to be, let's say a career woman, for example. So when I saw this film, it just encompasses so many different rules of thought, but you did it with great humor.
Well, thank you. And that's the thing as well, like finding your partner and settling down at the age of 20 is also not wrong. And like that's the thing, like whatever feels right for you is what's right for you, right? And I think we we never wanted to tell people right or wrong, or like that's what we try to do. We try to show that internal debate and conversation a woman can be going through. And I think it's very easy for people to away comments like, when are you going to do this and when are you going to do that? And then you don't necessarily know what's going on inside someone's mind. And that's what we try to show. But we, all the way through making the film, we never wanted to tell people what they should do, right? We wanted to say that people should be allowed to do what they want to do despite societal expectations. But that can be quite a dry, as you said, it was just, not necessarily the most entertaining conversation. So me and my incredible writer, Laura Jane Turnbridge, we definitely used humor as a tool to tell the story. We wanted it to be lighthearted, we wanted it to be funny, because I think this topic can be sensitive. I think it can be difficult and dividing, and we didn't want it to be any of that. We wanted to bring people together and have this shared fun experience and try to make a difficult conversation entertaining. So humor became vital all the way through. But one thing I've learned using humor as a tool, I only find that it works if you landed what you want to say in the end. If you've landed your ending and it sits and you know it sits, that's when you can start adding more comedy throughout. If you just have a lot of comedy and your ending isn't necessarily working or you aren't clear what you're trying to say, I don't find the comedy works in your favor. I find that it can sometimes do the opposite. But yeah, so yeah,
Well,
we definitely tried.
you accomplished that in this film because
Oh, thank you.
I loved the way that it ended.
Hmm.
You know, and of course you kind of ended with a little bit extra humor when she walked back into the party or the baby
Cafe.
shower and
Yeah.
she snapped at grandma, and I thought that was kind of funny because it's like now she's taking control
Mm,
of her life, but she at the same
mm.
time she was trying to be respectful, but it's more like grandma, back off.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And I think what we managed to do, or again, it's Laura's brilliant writing. She balanced so many delicate things in the end. And what I just love is that Eva and Ovi finally come together as a team, which it very poetically means that Eva feels more complete, right? She feels more comfortable and confident in who she is, and like you said, she's literally able to tell people to just back off, leave her alone, right? So that was, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you
I'm
know,
I'm quite happy with that.
yeah, I mean, because I started to think I almost feel sorry for single women that get invited to a baby shower because it's almost like they're walking into a trap with questions. But does the sound of the biological clock ticking get louder once a woman is past the age of 30?
I definitely think so, yeah. I think there's just something, I don't know why, it's like 30 or 35. I think society has always sort of said that by the age of 35, there's this big decline. But I think you're right. I think single women, I have so many, that's the thing as well, like I have so many um, close female friends in my life that are have decided not to have kids, and just the ongoing defending they have to do just because they've made this choice of not having kids is quite exhausting for them. And I find it really odd how people are so interested in why they want to live their life like this. People who don't seem to be able to sort of leave it alone or just accept it. It's fine if they don't agree, but they seem to really struggle to let them be. So,
Well, it's still
yeah.
the decades, so, and I can understand why decades old thinking still exists because we still have people, it could be grandparents, it could be parents. So there's still that generation that
Mm.
still sees what life in their eyes is normal. Then when you have a new generation and they're like, no, I'm career minded, I'm not interested in having kids, it's for them mentally, it can be a shock. And most of their shock is a lack of understanding.
Mm. Completely. And I think yeah, it's exactly what you said, like lack of understanding, and I think there's many reasons why people choose differently today, but it's like you said, I think it's just about creating that understanding and being open-minded that people might want to just live differently. Maybe that's what is lacking a little bit some places.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. Now, one of the things I loved about this film was your style of stop motion. Absolutely loved it. I mean, how did you come up with this particular concept for animation? And then how does your director of photography bring your vision to life, um, since it's so much different than live action?
I'm glad you like the style. It was actually, the whole look of the film was very similar to my previous film, Night of the Living Dread. And I tested a lot of design on that one. We tested so many different materials, and you go a bit nuts with stop motion. It's like, decision to making to the max, because you're literally deciding what their skin is made of, right? It's mental. But so I tested a lot on that, and then I found this combination of all these things that I really like. This, like, their skin is actually made from like a t-shirt material, and it has this perfect softness, but they weren't so fussy that they were distracting. And then we went through these big googly eyes, and we used 2D to create their mouths and eyes and everything. And I just fell in love with it. So when I wanted to make Ovary-Acting, I just took that style, and I took all the elements that I loved and pushed it even further. So an Ovary-Acting, which I think was a way more confident comedy than, or more of a comedy as well, than Night of the Living Dread. We then made the eyes even bigger, became even more cartoony, and we pushed and were more obvious with the 2D as well, just to make it more silly and goofy. And on both films, the DOP is crucial. On Night of the Living Dread, I worked with Charlie Jenkins, who's brilliant at what he does. And on Overreacting, we had Göran, who was our DOP. And I think he had a really big challenge because not only did we have this big film with two constant shooting units, um, which is a lot of work for a DOP to light. We also were mixing live action puppeteering, because in the musical number there's actually live action. The background dancers are actually live action puppets. So there was a heavy part of VFX involved as well, and that I think is very technical. So it was a challenging shoot, and on many levels.
Well, I was at first, I thought each character was crocheted individually because of the texture that you
Mm.
use for their skin. And I'm thinking that must have been time consuming. But I also understood why you use 2D animation for, like, maybe the expression of the eyebrows and the
Mm.
mouth, because if you didn't use 2D animation, that just really becomes very complex, especially when you're using dialogue, correct?
It does. But it's twofold. It's actually, actually, when we say like doing everything in camera, like doing mouths and eyes and pupils and everything in camera, is often a simpler choice, believe it or not. I think it will add a little bit of time on the shooting schedule, but it means that you don't have any post to, or like extras to do on the shot. So if you're doing 2D, well, which is what I choose to do, it often adds a lot more work. But I really like the look of it, and I think for me it's like the fact that you can make the eyes dart around and the mouth smear around as well. It's like I steal all the things that I love about 2D, and I'm quite jealous of 2D, that they can smear and morph and transform. So I take all those elements and I just like force it onto the puppets to give it a bit of speed and quickness and yeah, just a bit more energy. Yeah.
Well, no, I loved it. I thought the addition of the 2D worked so well with each of the characters, but with this film and working with all of the characters and the storyline, what was the most challenging part?
Gosh, there was many challenging things. I think as a director, it was challenging to deal with a quite political topic for the first time. So that was quite new, but I learned a lot through this process, and I really learned to trust my intent as a director and our team's intent. So that even if people are to take something different from the film, I know what we always wanted to say with the film. Other challenges, it's always challenging on an indie project, I think, because money and resources are limited. And so, in the end, you're pulling a lot of favors. So it really became, a project where people were just giving so much of their time and love and dedication to it, which is the reason we will to finish it. And yeah, but another actually very meta as well. Another big challenge was after staying with this topic for many years of whether to have kids or not to have kids, I did decide that I wanted to have a kid, but I never anticipated that my due date would be the same month as I was wrapping my film. So I know, it's so crazy. I actually ended up having my first baby and wrapping the film in the same 2 weeks, which was crazy. But it all went really well because I have, well, first of all, an incredible husband and family and support system, but also the team was just like standby and ready. And so a couple of days after giving birth, I was in the mix and in the grade, and we finished the film. And so we managed to hit our Tribeca and Annecy deadline, thank God.
Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations on the baby. That just really
Thank
makes
you.
an incredible backstory for this film. And I loved your character, Ovi, because I'll call a she.
Yeah.
Ovi was just um, so overly excited. It's like, hey, I'm fertile. Hey, I want to, I'm here. Let's have a
Mm.
kid. I mean, the humor from Ovi was absolutely hilarious. And I loved the cheeky humor. And then I saw something in the film and it really made me laugh. And it kind of got me thinking because, especially in the park, you have the ball sack playing in the
Yeah.
sand next to the man at the park. Now, that scene alone must have sparked up some wild conversations.
Yeah, and well, first of all, I'm so happy you like Ovi, but the ball sack Testy, as we call him,
Testy,
is
yeah. We can get technical on that.
yeah. We joke as a team that he is the true star of the film because he for sure gets the biggest laugh, the biggest reaction in every cinema we're in, and whenever I bring the puppet, he's the one that people always want to have a photo with. And another funny fun fact is that it's my husband voiced Testy, so he's very proud of his first acting credit. Um, but back to Ovi, I'm so happy you like her as a character. She, because even when I was figuring out if I wanted to have kids or not, it wasn't because I didn't necessarily didn't like kids. Kids can be super cute and but you can still not want them. So me and Laura, I think we both tapped into that extreme side of just like, oh, when you see a really cute kid, and then that sort of became Ovi, and I think Ovi just needed to be. She was super intense and had this one goal of wanting a baby, and was, quite obnoxious as well, but charming. And I think, but what made Ovi work, I think, was that she was naive, and I think that sweetness made her likable. It was super important that she was likable. If she was annoying in a bad way, this film wouldn't really work. And another
Look,
reason I think oh, sorry, I was just gonna
no,
say,
the
is
humor, no, the
Sophie.
humor made her very likable.
Hmm,
And with the main character, I mean, you created this external and internal tug of war with the main character, and and of course I can imagine the questions you get from women who have seen this film at a film festival, but I think too it gives a lot of insight to men to realize they have a clock that's ticking that we don't.
Hmm.
And I
No,
think it should bring
yeah,
more understanding. Men should have more understanding of what women are going through because really it's kind of a silent conversation in their mind with their body, right?
completely. And I've been luckily like so many people have reached out regarding this film, which I find so lovely because I haven't been able to go as many festivals as I would have wanted to, but people have been so nice and reached out. And there was a guy who reached out too, and he was like, I don't experience this pressure so much, but I see it happening to all the women in my life. And so I was just happy that I acknowledged it. And if they haven't seen it before, at least maybe this film, like you said, might make them realize a little bit more the both the internal and external pressure that women face.
Yeah, I know that Testy is the scene stealer in this film, but I also love the fact that how you bring the main character, she's at the party, she goes to the bathroom, you have her go through I guess this metamorphosis, so to speak, of feeling and looking like she's instantly pregnant, but it's literally where Ovi, comes out of her, and then the rest of the film is this conversation between her and her ovaries and her uterus,
Mhm.
which
Yeah,
I loved.
and because it was just this perfect, side character who, and I think Ovi is she's not just Ovi and literally the uterus. She represents both Eva's internal pressure, but also the external pressure. So she became this perfect symbolism for everything, um, which it was so important that they became a team in the end.
Yeah, but see, I loved their different ideas. So Ovi is thinking one way, then the main character is thinking another. So whatever one would say, the other one would say the opposite. But what
Mm,
I really, really loved is that the overall picture became very, very clear that towards the end of the film, where the main character is showing Ovi, well, what if what if I choose my life to look like this,
mm,
and I thought, wow, what
mm,
a perfect representation of every thought and every word in this film. And
mm,
and you just brought the whole thing together, but it is an absolute delight to watch. Now tell me
mm.
about this music soundtrack to your film.
Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that the ending works for you. Like I'm just that makes me so happy.
It made me laugh.
Big, yeah, no, it's great. That's the thing. Oh no, I want to make another film. But yeah, no, the
Oh my
music,
gosh. I will say this. I will say this, Ida. I see a lot of film every year, and it's the animation category that is so different. You can have storylines that you can see in live action, but the animation is so different. We will see some stop motion, you'll see claymation, you will see 2D, you'll see 3D. But out of all the animations that I've seen, I really loved this one because it was so different. It was it was a joy to watch. It was full of great humor, but there was the cuteness and a sweetness to the whole storyline as well.
hmm, thank you. But here's the thing, like uh, even though I always feel like a film, or for me at least, in order to want to make a film and tell a story, I feel like I want to have something to say. But I also really want to entertain people, and I want them to have a good time. And while they're watching it, I also think that humor can be such a good tool to get people to lower their defenses and really like relax. And then when they're like relaxing and open, that's when you sort of hit them with the emotion. And I feel like they're more ready to receive it then in a certain way as well. And also because like laughing in a cinema together is such a lovely communal experience that we for sure need more of, I think, in these days. So yeah, it means the world that it it resonates with people, and that's all I hope for when I make the film. So yeah.
You
What
know,
was the question again?
I've got, well, I'll get back to that question here in a moment. I have a friend who's an Academy member, and
Mm,
she asked me one day, she goes, "What is wrong with all of these filmmakers?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Their topic for their films are so depressing and dark. Do they need therapy?" And I was laughing about that. And so it's always stuck in my mind because there's so many films that are dramatic and dark and sad that
mm,
I've watched films where I think I need therapy after watching them.
yeah.
But then we have a breath of fresh air like your film that comes in.
Mm,
It's bright, it's funny, we feel good. We want to watch it over and over again because there's just so
mm,
much to see, not just in the storyline, but with the type of animation that you use. It was just a
mm.
delight to see a film like this be in the mix of all of these other films this year. But back to my original question, tell me about the music soundtrack.
Yes, that was it. That was it. Um, oh, I just want to say one thing on what you said though, and that is, and I'll answer the music question, is that my one of my big sort of, what do you say when you like in Norway you say like your heart case, like something that you really burn for, and that for me one of them is that I feel like humor and comedy doesn't get necessarily the same weight as drama or other films. It doesn't get taken so seriously. Well, I really think it should, because I think making people laugh, I think, is a real skill set. I think it takes a lot. For some reason, I think a lot of people think that that's the easy bit, but I find it really impressive when someone can make a whole audience laugh. And yeah,
I've got the
but yeah.
secret. I've got the secret for you because I've watched this. There are short films, regardless if it's live action or animation. There
Mm,
are those that are funny and you just love them. But you're
mm,
right, they're not weighty for those that are voting in some cases because a lot of people think an Oscar film or a BAFTA related type film has to have this cinematic,
mm,
dramatic type feel and look to it, and it does not. But the
mm.
secret is, and I always go back to this film in 2023 that not only won the Oscar, won the BAFTA, and won the IFTA, and that was An Irish Goodbye. Meaning
Oh yeah.
you can use comedy, and if you add that warm fuzzy feeling, you
Mm.
got a surefire hit and a chance. And overreacting brings that very element to the screen.
Oh, that, well, thank you. I know of the film. I haven't seen it, but now I'm really dying to see it
You
because I
have to
saw it
watch
took
An
home
Irish
all the
Goodbye.
awards that year,
Yeah,
for
you'll
sure.
know
But yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about. You get the heartfelt humor, you get the
Mm,
warm and fuzzy, and that's why everybody
mm.
loves it. And that's why when
See,
I
yeah,
see
never
overreacting,
on
you got it.
never underestimate the warm and fuzzy. But yeah, back to the music. I
Yeah.
think actually, for Night of the Living Dread and Overacting, I worked with the same composer, Joseph Stevenson, and he is brilliant. Like here, Joseph, I think for Night of the Living Dread, because he's a guitarist at heart, and so he used mainly the guitar to kind of design the entire score, and it, it was just brilliant. And so I went into this project obviously dying to work with him again, and I think there's something so you get so spoiled getting to work with these super talented people on a second round because you have all this trust built up. You've already been through this trial of by fire previously, and so there's so much trust the second time around, even more so, and because you've already established this working relationship. So I just gave him all these references. I sat on Spotify for a month. I just gathered all these like lovely references that I really liked. A lot of them were from Wes Anderson films, actually, I think. And I just sent it to him. And I think he like did a couple of versions of each scene, but he nailed it pretty much from the get-go. And I think we try to bring on the music as soon as possible, just to make sure, in animation, as you probably know, we make the film 1,000 times before we even go into production at the animatic stage. So I work so closely with my editor, Leslie Pozzo. We bring in Joseph's music. We tweak the script based on how the storyboards are shaping up. And so we work really intensely on it. But it's just so satisfying because if the film works in this very scrappy, terrible 2D. It's just like me and my stickmen. And if it works then we know for sure it's gonna work when we have the actual footage. So yeah.
So, how long did it take to make the film from start to finish?
It took the actual production took a year and a half. So we started pre-production January 2024, and then we shot the animation for about 4.5 months, and then we spent the rest of the time doing comping, VFX, and yeah, post basically. So it was done by April 2025.
Wow. I know that every animated film takes, most of them take well over a year to
Mm,
create, and just to see everything come together and come to life must feel
mm,
like an absolute great accomplishment. But now you're BAFTA longlisted, you're Annie nominated, but with
mm.
all of the film festival appearances that this film has had, what has been the audience's overall reaction to the film, and what are some of the questions you get mostly from women that who have seen it?
I think the overall reaction has been, above and beyond. I think we were hopeful. It was interesting. I was thinking about that not too long ago. I keep talking about Night of the Living Dread, but that one, it took so long for it to get into any festivals. I think it took about 8 months from completion before it really took off. And that one did amazingly well as well. But whilst overacting, we got the great news that we've been picked up by Whoopi Goldberg to be in Tribeca before we even finished. So we were just scrambling to finish the film, to get it done. And so I think it's just, and then it just took off. It just took off, and it's been in 60 festivals so far, and it's just been above and beyond. And I think, first of all, people find it really funny and enjoy it and rememberable. Both, even if they don't like it, I think they're going to remember it,
Who
which
would
I'll
not
take. But I
like
think
this film?
it's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fair enough, I'll stand by it. But I think the overall reaction is that they love the musical number, and I think women in general, what they it's so lovely that they come to me after and they're just like blurt out what they need to say. And I think they feel majority just feel seen. I think we just touched something in them and they feel seen on the big screen, which is very, very lovely, which is what we wanted. And yeah.
Well, let me ask you a film festival question because I've always wondered. So you appeared in over 60 film festivals.
Mm.
When you made submissions, did you only submit to the film festivals that were Oscar and BAFTA qualifying?
Yeah, so there's always a bit of a strategy, at the beginning. I For Night of the Living Dread, I had no strategy at all. It was just me, myself, and I. I was just applying. But there's definitely sort of a bit of a way to do it. So the rule of thumb, I think, is always to apply to the big five, they say, like Sundance, Tribeca, Toronto, Cannes. You try and get to one of the big festivals. And if you do, great, then you can start applying to other festivals. And it's like you said, you try to get into the more A-list festivals if you can. But at the same time, there's also, as a young filmmaker, animator starting out, there's something to getting your film seen. So if you don't get into one of the big five, I wouldn't put everything in that one basket. There's something about getting your film seen and getting it out to as many festivals as possible is just going to be good for you and your film, because you're getting your work seen, and hopefully that will lead to people recognizing you and you getting more opportunities. So,
Well, that completely makes sense. And you're
Mm,
right. I think that if you're going to submit, you submit to as many of the big ones right off the bat, just in case, because, and I've seen this over and over again, if you get your film into one of the big ones, that can help your film get picked up into other festivals
it
as well.
does
Yeah, because some of them
because
are kind of
other
like golden
festivals.
tickets, so Cannes one of them. If you get into Cannes, you basically wrote your ticket for the rest of the year.
Exactly. And other festival people go to other festivals, right? So they go and watch other films. And then, so if it's like you said, it's like a bit of a golden ticket. If you're super lucky and you get into one of the big ones, then you might notice that other festivals will reach out to you as well because they also want to include your film. So it is definitely a good start. There's no lying about it. It's a good start to your film and your festival run. But again, Night of the Living Dread didn't get into any of the big five. We had one of our first screenings 8 months later, and then suddenly it took off. And even without going completely against the grain of what is a traditional festival strategy run, we still got into 90 festivals. Like, and lots of A-list festivals. So I've seen it from both like different parts. I think you can go in with the strategy, but I think the big takeaway is not to hold on to that strategy so much that you're hurting the film being seen.
Yeah, and don't freak out if it takes a while for the film to get picked up.
Yeah.
Be patient. And I think you're the second one that I've talked to where they had a film, maybe not the current one, but they had a film that it took a while, and then
Mm.
finally it only took one phone call or one official selection and just turned it around, and it became very successful. Now, this is your second time being BAFTA longlisted, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So
So
how
Night
does
of the
that
Living
feel?
Dread got it's exciting. It's more nerve-wracking this time around. I don't know why. It's just yeah, because I was super lucky to be nominated before, and it was just such a cool experience. So, I think now that I know a bit more about it, I would just love to experience it again. So I'm just like crossing all my fingers, but at the same time, like it's just really exciting and again really cool. I didn't have, any expectations at all when we wrapped the film, so anything is just a reward. It's just lovely. Um, but I wouldn't say no to go to the BAFTAs again. It was super fun.
So
So,
so so
but
so
actually,
which one causes more pressure? The biological clock or BAFTA campaigning?
oh God, I definitely think campaigns in general are quite stressful. We did try our hands at a bit of an Oscar campaign, and that was definitely a lot of work. I completely underestimated how much work that was. Um, yeah, that was
Well,
yeah, very
you
intense.
know, I I really wish that the Oscars would adopt the same rules as the BAFTAs,
Yeah.
because it takes a lot of pressure off, because the BAFTAs are very, very strict. The Oscars are
Mm,
not. And
mm,
people are throwing money left and right when it comes to campaigning. But yeah, there's
yeah.
more pressure on the Oscar side of things because it's just basically what I would call the Old West and everything goes. But
Yeah.
for you, what do you hope that your film will do for women who are dealing with the same issues of womanhood, motherhood, the
Mm,
voices of others, their own voice, and maybe even the voice of their ovaries?
mm. I think, I definitely think, or I hope that they feel seen and recognized. I also, because the thing, when we were making the film, we started developing it in 2021, me, my producer, Michelle Brandum, and um, we felt then that the story was relevant and an important one to tell. And while we were making it, the political climate changed so much. So when it came out, it became way more timely than we'd ever anticipated. So, I really hope that. it makes people feel seen, and I really hope that it brings to surface, this important conversation that we need to have about women's bodily autonomy. Um, yeah, it was quite scary seeing how that was taken away very quickly. So that's what I hope is that women feel seen and not forgotten, and that we can talk about this again because it's very, very important.
Yes, and as the film ends, back off, Grandma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I
Enough
love the
said.
little sting at the end. I just thought it was so funny because that one scene shows the how wide the generations have become.
Mm, no, exactly. And what I love about it is that um, Ovi feels really badass when she does it. I think what I wanted to say earlier that I forgot is that I think so much of Ovi's charm comes from Sophia Oxenham's performance, our voice actor. She gave everything to Ovi. I don't think she would have been, we were just so lucky to have her on board. She added so much personality to Ovi. Absolutely smashed it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that was some of the magic in this film was just the personality of the voice actors bringing the characters to life. Because when I was watching it, and here's the great thing about, you've got a great animated film when the audience is watching the characters and they really think in their mind that these characters are alive and
Mm.
breathing, and you did that with overreacting.
Oh, thank you. No, you're right. It's when you forget you're watching animation, right? And I think overacting it couldn't have been told in another way. Like it had to be this, fuzzy, silly animation. Um, yeah.
Well, I love fuzzy, I love silly, and ladies and gentlemen, a comedic and deeply personal story, Ovary-Acting, explores the emotional roller coaster of contemplating parenthood in the modern world. With wit, honesty, and meticulously handcrafted animation, the film examines questions of biology, ethics, practicality, and, well, balancing it all with cheeky humor with genuine emotional renaissance. Now, the main character, Eva, is stuck at her sister's baby shower, a 30 something woman who is forced to decide whether she wants to have kids or not after unexpectedly giving birth to her reproductive organs. Now, the project unites Ida with BAFTA nominated writer Laura Jane Tunbridge from Sweet Pea and Requiem, whose layered and incisive script deftly balances comedy with heartfelt storytelling. And this is the perfect magic formula with this film. It's funny, it's cheeky, it's warm, and yes, it's fuzzy, and we can even add silly to it. A perfect winning combination. I really love this film, and even though I'm a guy, I found the use of humor enlightening as well as a bit of informative to try to understand the element of life that many women go through. And for us men, for the most part, we don't really understand women because we don't take time to listen. And overreacting helps us to do that. And again, I found this film that helps women realize that they are not alone and hopefully, again, help men listen more. And I can see why this wonderful animated short is BAFTA longlisted, and hopefully this film will actually be BAFTA nominated. And Ida, I want to thank you so much for sharing your delightful short film with me today, and much success to you in your BAFTA as well as your Annie journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the kind words and for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I hope to see more films like this in the future, and I can't wait to see what you create next.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have the opportunity to ever see Overacting, you're going to fall in love with this film. You're going to laugh at all the funny parts in this film, which means you may be laughing from beginning to end with its incredible animated stop motion short film. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch or listen to all of the Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com. Check out our Prime show, our YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, and more. And remember, You're either going to see me at the movies or from the red carpet.